Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're here with Chat. Chat has, hey, say hello. You don't need to. But we're here with Chat talking about the best decks for the upcoming World Championship Series in Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG slash OCG cross thing. If you don't know, the WC or the World Championship Series is going on, and I believe this is the ban list. Now, let's quickly go over this ban list because it is absurd. It actually is just a joke, how funny this ban list is. So let's quickly talk about it. Starting off here with the limited cards. This is kind of a pseudo TCG slash OCG list. I'm going to take off my headphones so I can hear myself. And so because of that, it is a bit different. It's a bit weird. And so there are hits to many things that are not in the TCG, as well as many things that are not in the OCG. So it's kind of weird. So yeah, lots more hits than normal as well. So we have the branded hits. We have branded Fusion opening, Lubellion, Magnamut, Expulsion, and Dragoon, all limited or banned. So branded is very hit. I don't know where this came from, but it seems very legit. Given the fact that I looked it up elsewhere and people were saying the exact same thing. So, yeah. Sorry about these images as well. Pearly received quite a few hits. Notably, Zeus to 1 kind of doesn't do anything because I think they're mostly just playing 1 anyway, so it doesn't really matter all that much. However, we also have Happy Memory, or is it Happy? I think it's Delicious Memory and Sleepy Memory. No, Delicious Memory and Happy Memory. Something like Pretty Memory? One of the two. They have two of their spells to 1, which really hurts the deck because these are the best two. Sprite is basically killed. Ronin Totem, Elf, both banned, and then Jet, Blue, and Starter all at 1. This is basically synonymous with the OCG, and right now in the OCG, this is definitely playable. Good hits to Sprite. Yes, we'll say good. Runic Fountain to 1, Skill Drain to 1. Sure. Kashtira has Fenrir banned, Unicorn to 1, the Primeval Planet to 1, Kashtira Arise Hearts to 1, which is not how it is in the OCG. That's a TCG exclusive, and of course Dupelos is banned. Tier has like 5,000 things hit. Tier has all of the tier names to 1, which is, again, different from the TCG. They have all of the issues to 1. They have Glow Up Bulb banned, which I believe in the OCG it's at 1, so that's very funny. Kikalos is obviously banned. Chaos Ruler is also banned, which again, in the OCG, that is unlimited. And then, of course, the Primeval Planet is also at 1. Super Heavy Samurai, however, on the other hand, receive a much bigger hit, mostly due to the OCG hitting things. Yeah, in the OCG, the crossbow, I can't remember what it's called, is currently at 1, as well as the other one, the bike, I believe is what it's called. Bike is at 2, and then they have the armor. That, like, it's basically the burn card that is used in FTKs in the OCG. That one is also banned, and then of course as well, the Link one is banned. Whereas I believe in the TCG, it's just the Link one that's banned. That's the only thing that's banned. So an even bigger hit for no reason. And then Dragon Link received all of the Bestials to 1, because reasons. And then, of course, in the TCG, we have ourselves the limiting of both Collapse Serpent, Wyvern Burster, and, of course, the Striker Dragon. And then, of course, Chaos Ruler as well is banned. So lots of hits there. Probably unplayable, but who knows? Dragon Link always seems to come back. And then Flu is just the limiting one of the map, which I think is still very playable. And then the limiting of the Harpies, or the Barrier Statue, which I think is at 3 in the OCG because, I don't know, the OCG is a joke. Important cards that are changed. Maxi is banned. Let's go. Maxi is banned. Gamma is at 1. Now that's normal. I think both formats have it at 1. They have it, the Dimension Shifter at 2. Engage at 2. Lightning Storm is at 2. Weird. Circular is at 1. That's expected. The 2 of Emergency Teleport, that's what it's called. This is because of the OCG. The one Pot of Prosperity, again, OCG. The one Skill Drain, again, OCG. I could be wrong. And then the banned Red Reboot and the banned Appointer, as well as banned what is this card? Griffin. All of which These two are from TCG. This is from the OCG. So as you can see, we have a whole bunch of full power decks, most notably things like Labyrinth, the Cyberpunk deck, the Vanquish Soul, as well as Sword Soul, and then of course things that you don't necessarily want to see, like Trap Trick and Nexus Sister, and that's right, full power Plant. And then there are a whole bunch of other decks as well. So let's go over the decks that I expect to do decently well at the very least. Starting off here with Adagnister. Honestly, Adagnister is probably going to be very good. A lot of the cyber stuff isn't touched, and most notably Adagnister is probably the best of the cyber strategies, and it can still play Mathmech. It can still play Mathmech Circular. Hey, there are a myriad of ways to actually get to Mathmech Circular, so it's not insane. I do think that this is probably going to be, maybe not tier 1.5, but definitely up there. Maybe tier 1.5. Next up, we have Altergeist. They did receive new cards. I don't think they're going to do anything. I really don't. Same with the new illusion cards. They're not going to do anything as well. Oh, I should note, I do expect this to be post-Dune. So with things like Rescue Ace, as well as any of the other Dune support that has come out as of recently. So do keep that in mind when I'm talking about this. This is for the most recent set in the TCG, not the stuff in the OCG. I think that most of that stuff is probably going to be unplayable. Next up, we have Dark World. Dark World is, I don't know, somewhere in Rogue, maybe tier 2. Just due to the lower power level of basically everything else, I do think that Dark World has a chance to actually do pretty well, but I don't see it being insane. Silva is still basically untouched, and without Maxi, I do think that this will do a little bit better, but not insane. Despia is basically almost unplayable. I really don't see them doing much, so I don't really have anything else to say. Same with Kashira. I really don't see them doing much, given the extreme hits that they received. The Fenrir ban, as well as the Arise Hearts to 1, really matter. So I really don't see Kashira doing a whole lot. Dino also probably isn't doing a whole lot, but I do think that it'll be a little bit better than Dark World, seeing as how basically everything is untouched. I didn't see a notable hit to Misk. So Misk might be at 1, it might be at 3. It's hard to say. I don't know exactly what the ban list is. And again, I'm not 100% certain on every card that would be changed. But I do think that either way, whether the miscellaneous source is at 3 or at 1, I do think that it'll be decently good just due to lower power level. Dragon Link, honestly, probably is still good. Even with all of these limitations, Dragon Link was still good in the TCG, even with most of these limitations, besides the Bestials, but it was mostly due to the Bestials. But again, lower power level, maybe it's still good. I'm actually going to put this in Rogue. I still think it's playable. Drytron, honestly, is pretty good in this format. It doesn't have anything that it really cared about being hit, except for the fact that a lot of these cards that would normally give it problems, Dimension Shifter, the Gamma, the things like Skill Drain, maybe stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, seeing those hits are actually, advantageous for it. So, Drytron, maybe. Eldritch, honestly, probably isn't going to do a whole lot, I'm not going to lie. Exosister is going to be pretty good. I hate to say it, but yeah, Exosister being entirely untouched without Maxi seems pretty good. Yes, Dimension Shifter is technically at 2, which is a slight nerf, but it's really not that big of a deal. Next up, Flu. Flu being, having a lot of its cards limited, I really don't see this doing a whole lot. Maybe here below Dark World. Infernoble Knight did receive some new cards, which does make it a little bit better, but I really don't see it, again, being all that great. I'm going to put it, honestly, I don't think it's going to compete. Yeah, Infernoble was pretty good back in the day, and yes, the new cards give it a lot of oomph, but the problem is that most of the time what the deck actually ended on was a whole bunch of generic cards that are now banned, like Halqifibrax, or not ending on them, but like going through those cards, the Halqifibrax and the Link Cross being notable cards. So I really don't see Infernoble really doing anything. And I do think that that the ban list might have also hit some of the cards from the OCG side that were hit to Infernoble that were way worse than what we had in the TCG. So that could cause it to be even worse. Labyrinth is probably the best deck. I don't think it was touched, basically, besides Skill Drain going to 1, which honestly doesn't really matter. And yeah, you could just play the IKEA stuff. Labyrinth is probably the best. I don't think anything else really comes close. Because basically everything else, Kashtira was the best deck in the TCG, Tyr is currently the best deck in the OCG, but followed very closely by Rescue Ace, which we'll talk about, and Tyr, which honestly has worse hits in this. So there's that. I guess no. I guess it's still a similar power level, but they don't have to play around Max C, which is one of the big reasons why tier was so good in the OCG. Menadimium is actually pretty decent. Maybe not that high. I'm going to put it in tier 2. Menadimium is actually just good. It has a lot of support now, and it actually has a lot of plays that it can go for. And with the... Oh, actually, Kashtira is, like, heavily nerfed. Never mind. I'm going to put it in Rogue. I forgot this plays, like, a whole bunch of Kashtira cards to actually make it function, so it's actually just not as good because Fenrir is banned, and they kind of need Fenrir. Next up, Marincess. Marincess is a playable deck that actually has plays and does stuff. It's not insane, but it does stuff, and it was untouched. Mathmech is actually still pretty decent, all things considered. Again, generic cyber stuff, go burr. Yeah, circular 1 hurts, but it's not gonna kill the deck, and again, lower power level, meaning Mathmech's probably still good. Makonko just is not going to compete. Punk Gold Pride, honestly, is, again, untouched, so I do think that it has quite a bit of umph that it could, or it does have a lot of plays that it could go for. It's still pretty good. It's decent. Pearly was just neutered. Like, its 2 best cards were just killed, and I really don't see it coming back from that. And with Zeus at 1, I do think that it is a little bit more of a problem. I'm going to put it below Marincess, actually. Rescue Ace is probably... second best deck. Here's the problem with Rescue Ace. It's a little bit too... like... it doesn't quite do enough. It's not as powerful. It doesn't really have, like, the greatest of end boards. However, it's still good. I could switch either of these, and I really couldn't see much of a difference. I think Rescue Ace and Labyrinth are basically the best decks to take into this format, given the fact that it's probably post-Dune. It could not be post-Dune. But yeah, just absolutely insane. Rescue Ace is probably the best deck post or outside of tier in the OCG. Labyrinth is the best deck in the outside of tier in the OCG as well. And sure, like Maxi exists in those formats, but with the heavy hits to the other decks that are currently at the top in the TCG, I do expect these two to be the big takeaways. Talking of other big takeaways, Rika. Rika is entirely untouched. And it is really strong. As we saw, it just won a YCS, mostly due to Jessica literally having the mandate of heaven and getting everything that they could have ever wanted. But I do think that Rika is very, very strong and definitely something to look out for. As you can see, entirely untouched. Sorry, let me scroll down a little bit more. There we go. Entirely untouched. Next up, we have Sprite, or Sprite Runic for hire. Honestly, Sprite is pretty mid, but I still do see it doing pretty well. Sprite Runic for hire specifically doesn't require a lot of the actual Sprite cards as much as it needs, like, the Runic for hire stuff. And the thing is, the one Runic fountain might not matter, just due to the fact that most of the advantages that you actually get is through the for hire stuff. And you just get to cycle a myriad of cards, so it's actually fine. I do think that this is probably a decent deck. Not insane, but decent. Scareclaw, I think, received some support. I'm going to put it next to Manadimium. I'm not entirely sure. Super Heavy Samurai is just unplayable. Draco Slayer is... I want to say Draco Slayer is interesting. Draco Slayer's not great, but I'm going to put it up here. Sprite Melfi is just not going to be able to compete. I'm just going to say it. Same with Sprite Runic Life Twin. These two specifically rely very heavily on having a maximum number of Sprite cards, and you just don't have those, so it's really not playable. Striker is actually going to be another one of the really good decks. It's going to be probably... I'm going to say it's not going to be better than Exo Sister, but it is going to be very good. Engage is at 2. Everything else is unlimited, I think... No, Hornet Drones is at 1. But I think every other card in Striker is playable. And yeah, you can just, like, destroy your opponent with going second cards. I do think... Yeah, I think it'll be good. 5th best, maybe? I don't know. Next up, Adventure Synchron. This is a very interesting deck that showed up in the OCG and is showing up now in the TCG. It's a very weird style. And because of the fact that Griffin is banned, I actually do not think that this is going to be very good. Mostly due to the fact that, like, you actually do need the adventurer cards, which are kind of important, and things like Griffin and stuff like that. Actually, does it require Griffin, or does it require the other guy? I don't really know. This one's hard to say because, like, it kind of showed up in the OCG, and it kind of showed up in the TCG, and it didn't really stick around. So it's very hard to place. I'm going to put it, like, tier 2, and just kind of... This could either be the best deck just out of nowhere, or it could be absolutely garbage and just bomb out. Really hard to say. Tier is still good. Do you want to know why? Even with every single card limited, everything else is also limited. Do you see all of these other hits? Sprite, dead. Kashtira, dead. Guess what? It doesn't matter, you have a maximum of names. That's all you need. Also, on top of that, you have the ability to play Kashtira Tier, which is another way to mill additional cards. You can use the Legal Knight, and yeah, I think the other adventure cards are hit as well. I know the Enchantress is at 2, or it should be, due to the OCG banning and stuff like that. But I still don't know about this one. It could be crazy, it could be mid. Sword Soul is very strong, probably better than Rika. Yeah, Sword Soul is like entirely untouched. I think Protoss is most likely banned, given the fact that it's Protoss and it's banned in the TCG. So given the fact that they've banned basically everything that they've banned in the TCG, as well as in the OCG and stuff like that, like, you know, Expulsion and other such stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if Sword Soul did have it banned, and even with that, I still think it's going to be really, really strong. Trap Trick will actually be a pretty decent deck, all things considered. Trap Trick has a lot of advantage going for it. The fact that it plays, you know, a very trap-heavy deck, which plays very well against, like, Labyrinth and stuff like that. You know, there's a... I don't know. Being unaffected by traps is also very good against Labyrinth and stuff like that. So I do think that is going to be, like, a sleeper pick as kind of a counter to Labyrinth and having, like, a really good matchup. I also don't think that is bad against Rescue Ace, seeing as how they're very similar in nature. And I think most of the other matchups aren't terrible, except for maybe Tier. But Tier kind of has to get lucky, so, you know, Tier can either entirely win everything just uncontested or be terrible. Unchained is very interesting here, because Unchained by itself is bad. It's just not very good. However, there have been a lot of Labyrinth Unchained in the OCG, which is just kind of like a few of the Unchained cards along with Labyrinth. So I'm still going to put this in Rogue, but in all honesty, it's kind of interesting that it could see play with probably the best deck. So good to look out for. And then Vanquish Soul. Vanquish Soul is good. Vanquish Soul is very good. Yeah, turns out not having to deal with Max C, but also still having access to basically everything else with everything else being limited, means that Vanquish Soul is actually going to be pretty good. I'm going to put it above Tier, but not by much. I still think Vanquish Soul is good. It's just a strong deck. Not having Maxi, though, actually does actively hurt this deck, because not being able to reveal an Earth hand trap is problematic. All things considered, though, I do think that this is a rough estimation, given the ban list that we currently know, which I believe is this one, that these would be the best decks of the WCS, or the World Championship Series. Now, I could be absolutely incorrect, and all of a sudden Melty Sprite is just the best deck for no apparent reason. I have no idea. This format is basically unsolved, and I have no clue who is testing it or where I would get any of these informations. Just play Ghost Spell. Yeah, you absolutely could play Ghost Spell, actually. Ghost Spell would be super good for Vanquish. Anyway, that's going to be it for this. Is Dune going to be legal in World? I would imagine. I don't think China will get Dune by then. Oh, that's interesting. I just kind of assumed that it would be, given the fact that we just got it in the TCG. And I was like, oh, that would make sense, right? But if it's not legal, what does that change? I think that's it. I think that's like the only thing that changes. I guess you'd like move some of these other things. Like this would go down. But even with that being said, Yeah, I don't know. That's the problem. I have no idea. Because it's probably all in Japanese, which I don't read. So yeah, I have no idea. I don't know where I would find out this information. I only know about the ban list because of this random Instagram post. Rescue Ace. Or Ace. Anyway, that's like the only thing that I think it changes. Because I don't think anything else really is that affected. Yeah. Trying to think of other cards. Oh, I guess Adventurer Synchron would probably be down here. Because it wouldn't exist. But I think everything else is more or less the same and untouched. Yeah, this is the only thing. If Dune is playable, up here. If Dune is not playable, down here. It's pretty simple. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.